நான் இங்கிருந்து கொடுப்பேன். Is it okay, ma'am? PPT?
Sir, shall we start the program, sir?
Yeah. The screen is
Good
visible.
evening, everyone. Yes, sir. Good evening, everyone. I would like to invite Ms. Monica, faculty, Leilani Publication, to deliver the welcome address. Welcome, Monica.
Welcome, ma'am. Good evening, everyone. Welcome you all to the 5th National Research Workshop on Building Strong Foundation, Essential Research Methodology for Scholars. We are honored to have Dr. M.Prathapan, Associate Professor, Department of Commerce, Vels Institute of Science, Technologies and Advanced Studies, Chennai, Tamil Nadu, as our esteemed resource person. His expertise and insight will guide us in understanding the essential methodologies for impact research. To all participants, I encourage you to engage actively and make the most of an enriching learning experience. Let's work together to build a strong foundation for academic excellence. Once again, a warm welcome to all, and I wish you productive and insightful workshop ahead. Thank you all.
Thank you, Monica.
Thank you, ma'am.
Good evening, everyone. It is my privilege to extend a heartfelt and a special welcome to all of you to the 5th National Research Workshop on Building Strong Foundations, Essential Research Methodologies for Scholars, organized by Leilani Publication and Press. We are deeply honored to have Dr. M.Prathapan, Associate Professor, Department of Commerce, Vels Institute of Science, Technology, Chennai, as our distinguished research person. His vast knowledge and experience will undoubtedly inspire and guide us in mastering essential research methodology. A warm welcome to all the participants, scholars and researchers alike. Let us make this workshop a collaborative and enlightening experience as we strengthen our foundation for impactful research. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Welcome once again, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for having considered me to have a resource person for this workshop, 5th National Level Workshop. And also I would like to convey my sincere thanks to Dr. Satish Kumar and the Leilani Publications and the SK Group of Companies Research and Development And already this SK group of institution also have awarded me as the best faculty research, excellent research award last year.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm very much thankful for the organizations and the coordinating team, in particular Dr. Saranya and the faculty who delivered welcome address. Also, I thank everyone. Also, all the participants who are actively ready to participate this national level workshop with respect to research, essentials of research and building strong foundations. Thank you. When should I start, ma'am? Shall
Yes,
I start?
yes, sir. Start பண்ணிடலாம் sir.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Okay, sir.
As everybody, the participants who might be undergoing research activity and academic research also, it is essential to learn what is research and what are the characteristics, key characteristics of research, and what are the methods of research, and how the research becomes important in the present scenario. The methods of research, in particular qualitative methods of research and quantitative methods of research, and what are the process of research a researcher should adopt for their research study, and the best practices to conduct the research. Also, the statistical techniques that we are going to cover in this workshop. First of all, we should know what is research. Research is a careful investigation or inquiry, especially a thorough search for new facts, any branch of knowledge. So research is nothing but it is a research. We are searching the knowledge and fact, new things. So that is research. So here the research comprises defining and redefining the problems, formulating the hypothesis, collecting, organizing and evaluating data, making deductions and reductions of variables, and reaching conclusions to determine whether they fit with the formulated hypothesis. So according to Clifford Woody, he defines the research. It comprises the various aspects. So such as defining and redefining the research problems. So whenever we are undertaking a research, so we have to define what is the research problems. So without any research problems, how we can find out the solution for the particular problems. For example, in a company whose marketing research, the company wanted to conduct a marketing research. So why that the company wanted to conduct this research? So there should be some problems. If there is a problem in that, in order to find out the solutions, the company will undertaking the research. So for this purpose, as the researcher, whenever we are undertaking the marketing research for that company, that we should define the problem. What is the research problem? And so not only the defining the problems, we should always formulating the hypothesis. And for the research problem and taken up the objectives for our research, the researcher should formulate hypothesis and collecting data in order to prove and prove the hypothesis. The collected data should be collected, and the collected data must be organized and evaluated. Also, the making reductions of variables. So when we are conducting the research, we can identify the various large number of variables. So those variables we cannot make a further analysis. So in order to make the further analysis of that variables, the variables must be reduced by adopting various statistical techniques like factor dimension reduction techniques. It is otherwise known as factor analysis. So that is the making of deductions, and based on this data collected, analyzed, evaluated, organized, and the formulated hypothesis, the conclusions must be reached to determine whether the formulated hypothesis is accepted or rejected. So that is what Clifford Woody said. The research comprises the various aspects like defining and redefining the research problems, formulating hypotheses, collecting and organizing, evaluating the data. Then the characteristics of research. So each and every aspect must have characterized by different aspects in such a way that the research is inevitable. It also having some key characteristics. Those are the systematic approach. A research must be a systematic approach and objective and unbiased. So biased, the researcher, biased and unbiased. What is bias? The researcher is insisting his thought and view personally or purposefully. It is called bias, personal bias. So that is, whenever we are conducting the research, we should collect the primary data that should be actual data. That those actual data must be used to analyze, make the further analysis. So if we are making or manipulating the data, it will lead to biased. So therefore, the research must be unbiased. And also we are setting objective for our research that should also be unbiased. And empirical evidence. So empirical, it is one of the type of research. So that research, empirical evidence, empirical research is the particular person who is actually experiencing certain things. So that must be evidenced. So that is empirical research also. For example, if a customer or if an employee who is suffering due to stress and work-life balance. So in this regard, the employee, what is the employee actually experienced with respect to his stress and making the work life is very balanced. So that is an empirical experience of the respondent. So that must be produced as a evidence in our research. And clear research questions or problems. After making the research problems, we should formulate research questions. For example, if we wanted to analyze the various problems of customer while using ATM or while using the services of banks. So the problems must be identified and analyzed by adopting various statistical techniques. So in order to find out the solution for the questions, so the research questions. So first we have to define the problem. Based on the research problem, we should set the research questions. So that is, it is possible when we are conducting the research, each and every research activities will have clear research questions based on the research problems and the replicability. So when we are conducting the research, after conduct it, that the research must be a replicable one. I mean, so in the thesis, we are in the last chapter, that is summary, findings and conclusion. We are giving scope for further research. That is, we are giving the scope to the future researcher That is called the replicability. So if we are conducting the research, our research must be a replicable one. And the transparency and the ethics. So here it is a very big problem in the present scenario. In the research activity, there is no some places, some situations, there is no transparency and the ethics also. So for that only, in order to adopt and follow a proper ethics in our research, so various key aspects and the various uh, controlling mechanism are introduced. That is, for example, plagiarism. So if we are conducting the research with a highly plagiarism, then there is no ethics. It means there is no ethics. So for that purpose, whenever we are conducting the research, that must be a transparent one, as well as an ethical research should be produced. Yes.
Sorry for it. PPT full screen share பண்ணுங்க sir. Slide is
PPT. Hello.
Yes sir.
Screen வருதுங்களா? Hello. Hello.
Yes sir.
Am I audible?
PPT full screen set ஆகல.
Full screen.
First slide மட்டும் தான் வருது.
Now.
Now okay sir. Now okay sir. Now okay sir.
Okay.
Oh, thank you. Full screen is better than sir.
Yeah, now. Full screen. Is it okay, ma'am? Hello.
Yes sir. Okay sir. You can continue sir.
Full screen visible.
No sir. Full screen தெரியல. ஆனா slide கரெக்டா இருக்கு sir.
Full screen.
No issue sir. You can continue sir.
Now okay, ma'am. The full screen option என்ன அப்படின்றது வந்து எனக்கு ஹலோ ஹலோ
Yes sir.
ma'am, how to show full screen, ma'am?
Sir, 1 second sir. Corner on the full screen F sir. Press F sir.
Press F. Now.
No sir. Sir, FI, sir, FI. Sir, press F5 for full screen, sir.
1 minute, ma'am.
Okay, sir, okay, sir.
ஐயோ ரெக்கார்ட் அப்போ நீதான்ப்பா லாஸ்ட்ல இருக்க பென் குயின்லாம் லாஸ்ட்ல இப்படி
Sir, press F5, sir.
F5 press. I pressed, ma'am.
Okay, sir. Sir, okay, sir. Previous setting is okay for me, sir.
Is it okay, ma'am?
Yes, sir, yes, sir. Okay, sir.
Sir, your voice is heard, sir. Your face is not displayed, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now, okay, sir.
Okay, sir, okay, sir. Continue.
Slide is not moving, ma'am. What I have to do? Now, okay?
Okay, sir. Now okay, sir. You can continue, sir.
Okay. So the characteristics of research. So continued that generalizability. So if we are finding our research findings, that must be generalizable. It should be adopted in the previous research findings also. So that is, and then logical and critical thinking. So if we are conducting research, our research problem, based on our research problems, there should be some logic and critical thinking must be adopted, employed. Also, the research, by way of conducting research, that must be contributed to knowledge, finding a new knowledge and gaining knowledge by the researcher. And finally, peer review and publications. So once we are, after completion of our research work, that must be reviewed by our peer groups. So based on that, the peer groups suggestions, we can modify and finding a new things in our research. So importance of research. So each and every new things that we are inventing through conducting any research. If a particular product that is the existing product is outdated in the market, for which the producer or the marketer, they are conducting research to identify and inventing new products and new designs also. So in such a way that the research becomes very important in the following ways, that is advanced knowledge, innovation and development, problem solving, evidence-based decision making, validating existing knowledge, social and economic impact, personal and professional growth, continuous learning and improvement, and preservation of culture and heritage. So the research is enabling and which also become important in advancing and gaining new knowledge by the researcher as well as the stakeholders. And the stakeholders can also gaining the knowledge by way of reviewing the already conducted research. And other things, innovation and development. So in each and every organization and each and every company, which is maybe service-oriented organization and manufacturing organizations, and they are established the research and development department in order to inventing or implementing innovativeness in their manufacturing and services activities. And other things, problem solving. So for each and every organization which is facing problems by various factors, that is the environmental, internal and external factors. So due to that problems that may be faced by the organizations, they have to solve their problems by conducting research and finding a new fact and ideas. That is why the research is also becomes important. And then evidence-based decision making. So if an organization which can be conducted research by conducting in an organization which is conducting the research to compare the sales of the previous years to the present year. So if the 5 year sales that may be taken into consideration, based on the 5 year sales, what type of trend it shows, that the company can be decide or making the decision to improve or increase the volume of sales for the present and the future, what kind of decisions that the company wanted to take. So for that purpose, the research also becomes important. And another, validating existing knowledge. So the knowledge is changing. Knowledge and technology is changing one. It is not static. So therefore, the existing knowledge might be become outdated. In order to invent a new knowledge, the existing knowledge must be validated by conducting various researches, and also social and economic impact. So the not only the organization, it is an economic activity. What type of economic impact has been occurred in the economic conditions of the nation, as well as the company or organization or any society, that the research must be conducted. For example, in a particular area which is backward, economically backward, sometimes the government is also conducting research or conducting research or survey. What is the problem for the economically, that the particular area is economically backward? For that purpose, after conducting the research, the government maybe implement some facilities or the schemes for increasing the economic activity. So this is also by the way of conducting the research. And the personal and professional growth. So it's not only nation, economic growth of the nation, and the personal or professional growth of an individual is also possible through the research. That is why the research is also becomes important, as well as the continuous learning and improvement. So when we are conducting the research, we can learn new facts, knowledge continuously, and improve our knowledge also, and the preservation of culture and heritage. So if we are conducting a research in particular or with respect to a particular culture or heritage, so we can maintain the same culture. In case it is a valid culture, we can maintain by way of that conducting research. So with this respect, the research is also becomes very important. Types of research. So the research is basically classified quantitative and qualitative research. That is a main category or type of research methodology, that is quantitative research and qualitative research. What is quantitative research? Quantitative research is centered on collecting numerical data and employing statistical techniques to draw conclusions. So this quantitative technique is based on numerical data. So the numerical data can be collected by adopting primary data method or primary data source. So this quantitative research this type of research is often used to measure variables, identify patterns, and establish causal relationship. So quantitative research is always the researcher must be collected numerical data that should be employed to adopt statistical techniques to draw the conclusions. And what are the types of quantitative research? Types of quantitative research: survey research, descriptive research, experimental research, and correlational research. So here, what is survey research? Survey is often used to collect the data from a large audience to identify trends and generalize findings. So that is, we can conduct the survey among the people or the whole population. Sometimes a selected population can also be collect the primary data to draw the conclusion and generalize the findings also. And what method can be adopted in this survey? So structured questionnaire or close-ended questionnaire can be adopted for the collection of primary data in case we are employing the survey research. So here the data collection tool, that is questionnaire or structured questionnaire or interview schedule also. So when we are conducting the research among the population who are well educated, we can use the questionnaire, either structured questionnaire or questionnaire. And if we are conducting the research, all the groups, including literate, illiterate, and all the social groups, then we can adopt a structured interview schedule or the observation method. Observation method is nothing but the researcher is collect the data or observe the direct observation, collect the data based on the direct observations from the field. So that is survey. So here the either structured questionnaire or structured interview schedule can be adopted for collecting the data and conducting the survey study. And example, the survey study, the businesses or the organizations conducting customer satisfaction survey to understand the customer preferences and make informed decisions also. And sometimes if the particular producer or manufacturer, the competitor might be enter into the market in order to maintain their sales level in the saturation of the product life cycle, and that the company may also conduct the research study in order to take a decision regarding the maintaining of saturation level of sales. Then descriptive research. Descriptive research aims to provide a detailed description and summarize of phenomenon without manipulating variables, offering a clear picture of a subject. So that is descriptive. And in statistics and SPSS also we are adopting descriptive analysis. That is describing the variables and describing the interpreting the responses which is given by the respondent, the collected responses. So that is a descriptive research. And here, and what purpose there is descriptive research can be conducted to describe the characteristics, behavior or patterns. For example, in an organization, in order to find out the organizational behavior of the employee or and the personal behavior or job satisfaction and customer behavior, consumer behavior, that can be descriptive research can be adopted. And method use. In this descriptive research, survey can also used to collect the data, and observations technique can also adopted to collect the data, as well as a case study is also conducted in the descriptive research. Example, sociologists use descriptive research to document the urban population demographics. So that is a descriptive. For the analysis, descriptive analysis, we can adopt some statistical techniques, which I will tell you later. And then experimental research. The research can be conducted based on the experiment shown or experiment done by the researcher. So this is also can be adopted in the scientific research. So that is experimental research. And it can be proved without statistics, and the experimental research can be proved. Then correlational research. Correlation research can be conducted to identify the correlations between the variables. So here, to examine the relationship or association between two or more variables without inferring a cause and effect of relationship can be analyzed. For example, if a particular customer or product customer or consumer how they are having awareness on that particular product, as well as that the awareness how it the awareness of the customer pulled up the satisfaction level. For example, if the customer is having high awareness in that particular product or the particular aspect, and they can easily satisfy. So this can be proved by adopting the statistical techniques, that is either Carl Pearson correlation technique or Spearman's RHO correlation technique can also be adopted. So that is here when the variables are correlated, and the independent and the dependent variable, how the independent variable is pulling up the dependent variable. So here the for example, independent variable is customer awareness, and dependent variable is customer satisfaction. So that we can prove by adopting correlation technique whether the independent variable is pulling up the responses or pulling up the dependent variable and its responses. That we can find out by adopting correlation. The correlation can also used after reducing the variables that we can identify the research. The variables can be reduced by adopting factor analysis or dimension reduction technique. So that also we can adopt. And the statistical analysis of variables using correlation and coefficient. So that can be possible to find out the relationship between variables. Example, investigating the relationship between exercise frequency and stress level, and the employee job or work-life balance and stress level of employee in the working environment. The employment job stress and job satisfaction can also be compared and identify the relationship between the job stress and job satisfaction. So that is called the correlational research. Then other topic, qualitative research. So there are top four techniques can be adopted in the qualitative research method. So that is in-depth interview, observational research, focus groups, case studies. So these are the various types of qualitative research. types of qualitative research. That the first type, that is interview. The purpose of conducting interviews in order to identify the in-depth interview to explore the individual's perspectives and gain insight into complex topic. So if a particular organization, some complex problems may be occurred, sometimes those problems cannot be disclosed. So in order to find out what is the cause and the effect of that particular problems, so the company or the manufacturer, and they can adopt this type of research, that is in-depth interviews with the affected groups and the particular individual perspectives, what they suggest and how they feel about the particular problem. So that can be, the data can be collected by in-depth interviews to explore the individual perspectives. And what method? Using semi-structured and unstructured interviews to allow participants to share their thoughts freely. So in this method, they can adopt semi-structured and unstructured interviews. Semi-structured means whatever the researcher is going to raise the questions that cannot be structured, and some questions may be structured and some questions is not structured because on the particular situation, on the basis of the judgment of the researcher, and they can raise the questions, and also what is the responses given by the respondents. Based on that, the researcher can also raise the questions. That is semi-structured questions. And unstructured questions, whatever on the spot, whatever may be the data wanted to collect by the researcher, and they can raise the questions with respect to the research topics or in what type of fact that they wanted to find out, and they can raise the question in order to get the true and real answer in that questions by conducting the in-depth interview. Example, a healthcare researcher interview patient to understand their experiences and emotions, feelings, and how they are suffering due to that particular disease, and they can raise the questions. So this type of research is applicable for the personal perspective and the personal feelings of a particular person with respect to any disease and other. It is particularly can adopted in the healthcare researchers interview patients. And focus group. Focus group. The data can be gathered by diversing the opinions and the insights of the group discussion and the specific topics. And in order to collect the data, the researcher can constitute a panel of discussion. And they can adopt a panel also. For example, jury opinion panel can be constituted to collect the opinions and the insights of the respondent and collect the data by focusing a particular group. For example, in a particular area, there was a riot between the two groups. So in order to collect the fact, what is the causes for that particular riot, and they can focus the group and divide the respondent based on the group, and the particular group can be focused and collect the opinions, insights from that group based on the group discussions, and whatever the data is arrived by group discussion, that can be used for the research. What method can be adopted to focus group of research? Facilitate guided conversation with the selected participants. So the selected participant in a group, and the researcher can have a conversation with them to collect the data, and they can be considered as a participant for the research. Example, in a marketing teams, conduct a focus group to test new products and concepts and gather feedbacks. So for example, a particular company which is launching a new product into the market. So that is, they can adopt either test marketing and trial marketing. After tested the market, and the product may be launched for trial marketing, and the feedbacks and opinions can be collected from the customers based on the focus group. For example, in a particular soap that may be used by youth, or particular face cream that is used by youth, the youth only the focus group, and what is their opinions and insights, and they can collect the feedback. Based on the feedback, they can either modify the product to suit the requirements and preferences of the youth customer, and the manufacturer can make a decision, and after that they can launch their product to the entire market. So this is the focus group, and it can be conducted for the new product in particular. Then ethnographic research or observational research. So observation is, for example, for observational research to collect the data, the best example is constituting of a commission, that is the inquiry commission. If a particular problem that may be occurred in the state or in a particular district, so to collect the data or to to identify the fact, the inquiry commission is constituted, and they can have a observational data and inquiry with the participants by using these two types of data, and they can conduct the research, and finally they can draw the conclusion and a report. So that is observational research. So observation, direct observation, a researcher can directly observe. For example, if tribals are, and they don't have a language, in that situation, if the researcher wanted to collect the data and the lifestyle of that people, and they can observe without collecting data orally, and they can observe their activities, and based on that they can find the fact or draw the conclusion, the observation which is collected by the researcher. So that is observational technique. So this observational research can also conducted among the students, that is student groups, in children's, that is from first standard to fifth standard. So a particular researcher can conduct a research about the activities and activities of that particular group of student, and the data cannot be collected from the students. And in this situation, that the particular researcher can collect the data by adopting the observations, and they can observe each and every student and their activities, and based on that they can find out the solution or draw the conclusion. And case study. The purpose of conducting case study, it's provided an in-depth examination of a single subject or event. For example, if any accident or any protest that may be occurred in the particular district, or any riot that may be occurred in a particular place, and there must be needed in-depth examination of a single subject. That what is the single subject, that is in particular, what is the cause and the problems, or what is the reason for that particular riot or the problems. So this can be conducted by case study. This case study method can also be conducted in economic activity and banking activities also. And an organization, to uncover insights and identify patterns, they can conduct case study method and use multiple data sources, either primary data, secondary data, can also adopted to gain comprehensive knowledge in the particular case. These are the types, various types of qualitative research. As the researcher, in order to smooth conduct of the research, or in order to select an appropriate topic for your research, and once the selection of topic, and you can adopt for that particular topic in which type of research will be highly appropriate, that you have to decide, that the researcher will have to decide. So then only they can conduct the research in a smooth manner, and generalizable findings can be derived from your research. So that is, for that, the selection of topic is also very important, and the setting up objective is also very important. Based on the objectives, the research questions, framing the research questions, and based on the research questions, formulating the research hypothesis, everything is a sequential process, and it should be handled carefully whenever you are conducting your research. And also determine your specific topic of your research. How to conduct a research, or what are the research process? The research process can be adapted for your research. So there are 12 steps can be followed. Step 1, identify the research topic. So if the academic researcher, once they are joining as a research scholar, and in the first step, they have to decide what is the research topic. The research topic is nothing but, it's first we have to select a broad theme of your research in your particular subject. What is the domain that you are going to conduct research? In that domain, what is the broad theme that you have to finalize? And after finalizing the broad theme, and you should identify the research topic. That the research topic should not be outdated. That the research topic should be shoot with the present scenario and meet the present problems. So likewise, and very hot and current topic you have to select. So then only your research will be very fine research, become very fine research. Also, second step, that review existing research. That is, the researcher review the research study conducted by various experts previously. That is why, as the researcher, the second step is collecting the review of literature. So why we have to collect the review of literature? So after having collected the reviews with respect to the selected topic, and we can derive, or we can identify the research gap. So the research, once we are finding out the research gap, and we can conduct new study. The research is nothing but it is a research. So we are searching and researching from the existing studies. That is why, as the researcher or for conducting the research, the relevant review should be reviewed. The review of literature should be reviewed, and the existing research should be reviewed. So after reviewed that, we can find out the research gap. What are the areas that the existing researcher has not touched? Those research area or those research gap can be identified for our study, and we can adopt in our study to further progress of our research. So that is the review of literature is important to identify the research gap. The review of literature should also collected based on the chronological order and based on the perspective of different expertise and based on the perspective of different geographical areas, that the research review can be collected. And third step, design the research methodology. Research methodology, what methodology of research that we are going to adopt, that we have to decide. To determine the appropriate research methodology that suits to our research questions. The research methodology must be adopted to fulfill the requirement of our research questions and decide whether the study will be qualitative or quantitative or a mix of both qualitative and quantitative nature. So that is also determined in this research methodology. That is step 3. And also choose the data collection method. Either what type of data that we are going to adopt for our research. Either it is a primary data or secondary data. So the primary data is nothing but the data which are collected directly from the field. That is primary data. For example, we are collecting the customer satisfaction. We are conducting the research with respect to customer satisfaction of a particular product, and we are directly meet the particular customer and collect their responses. That is primary data. Secondary data, that is already used data and collected the existing data and documentary data also. That is secondary data. So this also we have to identify what type of data will be suited to our research. Either it may be mixed type of research or qualitative research or quantitative research. So that is third steps. That is the designing the research methodology. And in addition to that, for collecting the data, the selection of sample is also very important. What type of sampling method we have to adopt? So sometimes nowadays many researchers using the sampling method as convenience sampling or judgment sampling method. So this may not be appropriate. It is inappropriate one. The proper selection of sample can be employed in our research. Then only we can collect a real data. That primary data will be very quality data can be collected rather than the manipulated data. So that is here. To decide, that is the collection of data and sampling method. With respect to sampling method, we have to adopt a logical sampling method. For example, if we wanted to adopt a simple random sampling, for that population must be known. So if without knowing population, we cannot adopt a simple random method. For example, in a particular the job satisfaction of employees in a particular company. So we can select as a sample in the particular, for example, manufacturing company. The manufacturing company must be listed in the particular geographic area. For example, Chennai city or Madurai. Like that, we are selecting the geographical area for our research study. And we have to determine the manufacturing industry, that is study unit. In that study unit, how many manufacturing industries or manufacturing companies are there in Madurai city or Madurai district? That should be listed. If we listed all the manufacturing companies in Madurai, that is the population for our study. So in this situation, we know population. If the population known, we can adopt simple random sampling method. So that is, for example, in Madurai city, there are 200 manufacturing companies are there, out of which, that is population, out of which how many companies we are going to select by adopting the simple random sampling method. So this is the situation, we can adopt a simple random sampling method. If on the other hand, if the population is unknown or population is infinite, in this situation we cannot be able to adopt that is simple random sampling method. So there should be some other type of sampling or technique of sampling can be adopted. So in case it is what I would suggest, if the population is immeasurable, we can adopt mixed sampling method. For example, if we wanted to select one district, our research can be conducted in one district. So in this hello. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes, am I audible, ma'am?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Audible, sir.
Okay. So if the population is immeasurable, then we can employ that mixed sampling method, either quota sampling and purposive random sampling. So based on the situation, we can determine the sample, and it is not at all a problem. We can adopt mixed sampling method also for a particular one study. And before you are determining your sample technique, you must be known about the population. So that is a research methodology. The research methodology, some other aspects also important, validating and reliability test, validity test and reliability test of data collection instrument, and framing the data collection instrument or tool for data collection. It is also very important. Either we are adopting the data collection instrument, either it is questionnaire or interview schedule or observational method. In what method that we are going to adopt for our study, that should be determined based on the objectives and research problem and research questions also. So that is very important. Pilot study. Pilot study is consisted, that is reliability test and validity test. So validity test is language validity and consistent validity. And reliability test we can employ Cronbach's alpha test. So in order to the data collection tool becomes very reliable and prove, we have to adopt Cronbach's alpha test. The Cronbach alpha value must be more than 0.7. If the Cronbach alpha value more than 0.7, then only that the data collection instrument can be reliable for adopting for our research. And if it is the alpha value is less than 0.7, that we have to modify the questionnaire or we have to modify the interview schedule, and the identified variable is biased And these are the things that we have to take into consideration while the framing questionnaire. For that only, conducting pilot study with 100 samples is appropriate. And once the questionnaire or interview schedule is framed, the 100 samples must be collected, 100 samples and responses collected, and it can be tested by adopting Cronbach's alpha. So in the year 1999, Nuginelli tested and adopted and suggested this consistency value 0.7. So that is also in the research methodology. And regarding design of research methodology and fourth step, selection of samples and participants, and fifth step, information collected, the collection of information and the source of information. Source of information means who will be the respondent, potential respondent, that we have to identify. For our research, if we are conducting the research among the youth group, then the potential respondents are youth, and we have to define in which age we are taken into consideration or considered as a youth, whether teenage or the age between 20 to 30, like that we have to determine. They are the population and they will be the potential respondents. So the information collection of information and data based on our research, chosen research methodology. Qualitative research has more intellectual information, while quantitative research results are more data oriented, ensuring that our data collection process is standardized and consistent to maintain the validity of the result. So already I told you that is validity and reliability. The reliability of data collection tool, validity of the content. So content means whatever the variables we have identified, it may be based on either Tamil version or English version or any other version, but we have to validate it by using proper language. That is the language validity. And regarding reliability, that statistically we can prove by adopting Cronbach's alpha value. The next step, data analysis. After having collected data and determined the proper research methodology, the collected data can be analyzed by using either some software like SPSS or either Excel. In olden days, Excel software was adopted and used for analyzing the data, and nowadays SPSS, statistical package for social science, that SPSS package developed by IBM we are adopting. And before adopting that SPSS, the data can be analyzed and data also validated. Sometimes when we are collecting the data and presenting the instrument, that is questionnaire or interview schedule, the respondents might be incomplete, that responses may be incomplete. So that we have to validate the instrument after collected the data, and the suitable and fully completed responses and respondents questionnaire or interview schedule must be taken into consideration for the further analysis and analysis. So the analysis can be done by using this software, and after that employing some statistical techniques. Some suggested statistical techniques adopted for the research, that is, for example, descriptive analysis. That is, it consisting of arithmetic mean and the average, arithmetic mean, percentage, frequency distribution, and these are some descriptive analysis can be adopted. And in addition to that, inferential analysis can also be adopted, like independent sample t-test, linear regressions, ANOVA, MANOVA, that is multivariate analysis, paired sample t-test, and chi-square test. So these are some statistical techniques can be adopted. So nowadays it is all these statistical techniques comprehensively available, and we can adopt SEM, structural equation model. So that can be adopted, but the SEM model is not used always. It cannot be, it is not necessary to use for every research. The structural equation model can be adopted when we are developing any theory, or when we are adopting the already developed instruments or developed questionnaire that may be used, and to prove the theoretical background, then we can adopt that structural equation model. Otherwise, it is not necessary to adopt for all the type of research. When we are developing theoretical background, for example, brand image, consumer behavior, so like that, and leadership quality. So this type of research, when we are conducting this type of research only, we can adopt that structural equation model. So that can be the equation. After adopting that model should be must be fit. The new model, if we are developing new model, that model must be fit. If the model is not fit, so there is a problem in the collection of data. So that is with respect to the analysis of data, and we should keep in mind when we are analyzing the data, what type of software we are going to employ, and what type of statistical techniques that we are going to adopt. So these are all we should, as the researcher, we should determine and decide. And the seventh step, interpretation of result. After analyzed the data, and the results can be derived, and the results must be interpreted to find the research findings, or to emanate the research findings. So here, interpretation. For example, we are always interpreting the data. Once the frequency distribution given, the frequency distribution can be shown by either table format or any graph or diagram format. If the graphical representation or graphical representation may be shown, and based on the graphical representation, we can interpret the data and emanate the findings. So here, the results to your research questions, and consider how they contribute to the existing knowledge in the field of your research. So that is interpreted data. For example, if we are using the secondary data, and identify or calculating the trend setting of a particular company's sales. So for past 6 years or 7 years, sales volume of the company we are taken into consideration, and based on that, it can be represented by diagram or charts, and we can draw the conclusion, or we can find from that past 6 years sales, and a comparison can be made with the current year sales, and what type of trend it shows, the trend setting can be adopted, and the trend setting can be find out. So that is the interpretation of result. So sometimes when we are taken into consideration, that is 6 year sales, and first year sales, second year sales decreased, third year sales increased, fourth year sales again decreased, and fifth year sales again increased. So like that it is goes. That trend is, we can find the trend is zigzag trend. The sales volume of the company is shown as a zigzag trend. And when we are taken into consideration about the analysis of financial performance of a company, and we can measure the ratio for every year, the financial ratios, either current ratio and equity ratio or any type of ratio, and based on the ratio, what is the findings that we can find out. If, for example, the current ratio is 2:1, it is ideal. If the current ratio, actual current ratio is not 2:1, that the company's financial position is not showing ideal ratio, that is 2:1. So in this situation, that based on this interpretation and the findings, that the company may be taking a decision with respect to the managing the finance very stringently or effectively, so that they can decide. So this is a best example for interpretation of results and the interpretation of data. And the eighth step, that is draw the conclusion. The conclusion, and after summarizing the research, summarizing the entire research report, and the conclusion can be drawn. So based on the research and the interpretation of the results, hello, am I audible?
Yes, sir. Audible, sir.
Okay, ma'am, time, is it, am I going beyond the time?
Yes, sir. But you can continue, sir. Remaining slides, sir.
Okay. Another 2-3 slides are there.
Okay, sir. Continue, sir.
As soon as possible, I will conclude. Okay.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Oh. Based on the interpretations of the results, the suitable conclusions can be drawn, meaningful conclusion can be drawn, and also discuss the implications of the findings. For example, if we are identify some findings, and this finding, whether it is consistent with the previous expertise and conducted research and their findings, whether it is coincident with that findings or not consistent. So that also we can come to a conclusion. And discuss about the limitations. So in the research study, the limitations, anything can be limited. It is a researcher's liberty. If we are uncovering any area for our research, then we can give it in the limitations. That is the each and every researcher, they can enjoying with these limitations. If they are not covering anything in the research aspects, and they can give it is in the limitations. But before limiting your research study, but that the limitation should not affect your objective of the research, as well as your research questions and the research hypothesis. If you are covered your formulated hypothesis for your research and set as an objective, and after analyzing, after given the result, but you do not give any limitation about your research objectives and findings. If there is no research findings, it is better you can modify the objective based on the findings. But it may not be possible all the situations. This may not be applicable for scientific research also. But in social science research, so you can mention it as the limitations, and addressing your limitations demonstrate the validity and reliability of your research. And the next step, making the recommendations. So a researcher conducting a research to measure the satisfaction level of the customer, after having completed the research, after finding solutions of a particular problems, and based on the findings, a suitable recommendation should be offered either to the consumer or customer, and to the manufacturer, and to the policy maker, and to the stakeholders, either vendors and suppliers and customers, and for everybody we can provide recommendations based on our research findings, but that the recommendation should not be personal bias and should not affect the interest of the organization, should not affect the interest of the consumer, interest of the policy makers, and based on that, carefully you have to offer the recommendations and suggestions, and write the research report. Prepare a comprehensive research report detailing all aspects of our study, including the introduction, methodology, results, discussion, conclusion, and references or bibliography. So here, that is why when we are writing the research report or research thesis, we should determine how many chapters or how many units that we are going to present in our research report. That we have to finalize either five chapters or 6 chapters or 7 chapters, like that, based on the topic and area of the research and a broad theme of your research. You can decide how many chapters or units that you are going to prepare for your thesis. In particularly, a research report must have introduction, methodology, results, discussion, conclusion, and references, bibliography also. So regarding bibliography and reference, I can point out the bibliography, some methods are there, either MLA format or APA format, like that, and depends upon the particular researcher and the research constraint, they can decide the method of bibliography. On the other hand, the reference means you have to give it in the particular page, particular paragraph number also you have to offer if you are giving the reference format for your research report. And peer review and revisions. If the researcher intended to publish the research report or research thesis and submit the report to peer-reviewed journals, and they can review the research report or thesis and they can suggest the modifications. Also, sometimes examiner also pointed out during the defending the thesis and defending the research report or presenting the research report, and they are suggesting some modifications if the particular research report go for publication. For that purpose, the peer reviewed and revision is essential. Revise the research report based on the feedback received from the reviewers and peer reviewers and any other experts after having collected that feedback, and based on which the necessary modifications must be done in the research report or thesis, and finally you can go for publications. And after having followed these steps, these 12 steps for conducting a research, you please make sure to share your research findings with the broader community through conferences, seminars, or other appropriate channels. So this maybe help you to contribute the collective knowledge in your field of study. And remember that conducting research is a dynamic process, and the researcher may need to revisit and refine various steps as the research progress. A good research requires attention to detail, critical thinking, and adherence to ethical principles to ensure the quality and validity of the study. So if you are adopting these 12 steps for your study, so your research will be progress, and progress of your research and completion of your research become successful. And I would like to suggest some statistical techniques, that is appropriate statistical techniques. It is a descriptive statistical techniques like population mean, that is population average, individual values of population, count of individual values, and sample mean. It can also adopted as a descriptive research, and weighted mean, simple mean of group, grouped data, mean deviation, population variance. So these are the descriptive statistical analysis can be adopted for our research. And for example, if we wanted to measure mean score perception of a particular problems or the customer's problems, or mean score can be, arithmetic mean can be calculated based on the mean value. If the mean value is highest mean value signals the high perception or the experience of the problems, so that we can come to a conclusion and interpret the data based on the arithmetic mean score perception. So these are some descriptive statistical techniques. And descriptive statistical analysis, inferential statistical analysis, handling and compiling data via numbers and graphs, that is frequency distribution, frequency table, percentage n and percentage that we are presenting for our research data, that is frequency distribution is descriptive statistical analysis, and it can be present via numbers and table formats or either graph formats. And explain essence of sample or population. So the number of population that we selected, and total selected sample can be indicated as an n, and then based on the frequency distribution and responses, we can interpret the data in the descriptive statistical analysis, and choose when data set is small. So data set where either we are using large sample size or small sample size. So we have to decide based on the small data set, an appropriate statistical techniques can be adopted in the frequency distribution. Either it can be shown, either charts or graphs and a table and all. And then tools, measure of tendency, that is measure of dispersion. Either we can adopt arithmetic mean, standard deviation, and skewness, quartile deviation. So this can be adopted as measures of central tendency and measures of dispersion. So these are some descriptive statistical analysis that we can adopt for our research study based on the research. But when we are adopting this descriptive statistical technology, we cannot be able to formulate a hypothesis for this analysis. If we are adopting inferential statistical analysis, we can formulate the hypothesis, and that the hypothesis can be proved. Either it is the hypothesis is H naught, that is null hypothesis, or alternative hypothesis, that we can prove by adopting inferential statistical analysis. So that is deploy sample data to draw insights from the populations. The population insights can be measured and proved by formulating the research hypothesis. If we are analyzing by adopting inferential statistical analysis, and make an inference to extract conclusion based on the hypothesis, whether it is rejected or accepted, and we can draw the conclusion, and inference can be drawn and used when population data is extensive. So if the large population we are selecting, and we can adopt this inferential statistical analysis, provided the sampling selection must be a proper technique to be adopted, and the responses collected based on the any Likert scale, that is 5-point or 8-point or 9-point Likert scale. If the data and responses collected based on the scaled data, and we can adopt this inferential analysis, statistical analysis. And mode of outcomes, that is probability measure. The probability measure is if we are formulating the hypothesis, and it can be the significant value may be 5% or 5% or 1% level of significance, then the probability can be measured. If we are fixing the significant level is 5%, then there is a probability of 5% is defects of the result, and the 90% is accuracy. And meanwhile, the in case of 1% level of significance, that is a 99%. When we are adopting that correlation, and either Karl Pearson correlation and Spearman's correlation, so the correlation table and the value, correlation coefficient value will be shown in that table with the double star and single star. If the single star, that the value is shown in single star, then it is meant that 5% level of significance, there was a high correlation at 5% level of significance. If that is shown with a double star, the p value or significant value is less than 0.01, then there is a high correlation at 99% and 1% level of significance. And that is the probability can be measured. And tool for hypothesis test, either ANOVA table, ANOVA test, and independent sample t-test, paired sample t-test. So these are some inferential statistical analysis which can be adopted. But one thing, if we are adopting ANOVA table, for which the categorical variable must be more than 2. The variable can be categorized. If the categorized more than 2, then only we can adopt ANOVA table, ANOVA test. For example, if the gender of the respondent is male and female only, it is two groups. There is a categories of categorical variable is 2. Then we cannot adopt ANOVA table. That is, ANOVA test cannot be adopted, and instead of that we have to adopt, that is, independent sample t-test. If the categories or class intervals more than two groups, for example, age less than 20 years, 20 to 21 years to 30 years, like that we classified that categories may be more than two groups, then we can adopt ANOVA table to find the mean score difference. The ANOVA and independent sample t-test can be adopted to find out the mean score difference between the variables, independent variable and dependent variable, and whether the mean score is differentiated or not. If there is a mean score difference is there, then the p-value will be less than 0.01. That is, if we are adopting either ANOVA or independent sample t-test, that the value will be 0.05 level of significance. So based on that value, we can interpret the data after adopting the ANOVA table and independent sample t-test. And sometimes the correlation also can be adopted for dependent and independent variables. And on the other hand, paired sample t-test can also be adopted if the analysis or mean score, if we wanted to find the mean score difference between two equal groups. For example, two equal clusterized area. That is, we are comparing the data among the different taluks and different blocks or different district, more than two district, and the respondents and the responses can be compared, then we can adopt paired sample t-test. And also, if we wanted to analyze the different subjects marks of the student secured by the student when we are conducting the school or college marks, college students marks, secured marks, then we can make the comparison between two subjects, either that the two subjects, whether it is differ or not, the mean score is differ or not. That if we wanted to find out that, then we can adopt paired sample t-test. And regarding factor analysis, the factor analysis is a statistical method used to identify, understand, and underlying the relationship between observed variables by grouping them into cluster called factors. It is often applied in psychology, social science, finance, and other fields to uncover latent structures that explain the correlation among the observed variables. So there are two types of factor analysis: exploratory factor analysis and confirmatory factor analysis. Exploratory factor analysis, that is, the researcher do not have a prior knowledge about the structure of data, what they have collected, and what are the dimensions that they are going to extract. So if the researcher may not know about the different dimensions of that data, then they can go for exploratory factor analysis. If the confirmatory factor analysis, CFA, that they know what are the dimensions that they are going to identify for their research based on the variables which is framed, the statements which is framed in the questionnaire or interview schedule, and they can use this confirmatory factor analysis. Then this is an example for factorizing the data, and in this research they have taken into consideration almost 20 variables they have identified. The 20 variables with respect to particular aspects, or it is a reality of testing. That is, so they are identifying these 20 variables. But these 20 variables, they have grouped by 4 factors. So in order to grouping these dimensions or factors, we can employ factor analysis or dimension reduction technique. If we wanted to find out the correlation between the variables, if there are 20 variables, that 20 it becomes very difficult to find out the correlation between all the 20 variables. So for this purpose, we are grouping the variables, heterogeneous variables, grouping into different factors, but by adopting this factor analysis. After collected the responses for these 20 variables by using the Likert scale, the data must be scaled data and collect the respondent from the responses from the respondents and feed into the SPSS, and we can adopt this factor analysis, and the homogeneous variables will be grouped into different dimensions. So in this example, there are 4 factors grouped. The first factor, confusion, which is grouped into 3 homogeneous factor. And the second factor, auditory and visual hallucination, that is grouped into 6 variables. So like that, the dimensions will be formed as a factor when we are running the factor analysis, that is rotated component factor analysis. And this factor analysis can be adopted some aspects. If we wanted to study about the customer service quality dimensions, so in this case we can adopt this factor analysis in order to derive the factors, that is reliability, assurance, tangibles, empathy, responsiveness, that is factor analysis factors. So these factors can be derived into different variables. It may be more than 40 variables or 20 variables or 30 variables, like that. We have to identify, either we can use these variables from already developed scales or developed tool. For example, this service quality dimension developed by various experts like Parasuram et al. He has developed this service quality dimensions. So that is reliability, assurance. This service quality dimensions can be adopted in different sectors, either banking sector or the supermarket industry or hypermarket industry and any other service oriented industry. Then we can adopt this service quality dimensions. So this can also be done by adopting, that is a factor analysis. So these are some appropriate statistical techniques that you can adopt, either simple techniques, and by this you can adopt for your all these techniques, these statistical techniques appropriately you can adopt for your research. And it's time to conclude. So after having discussed all these aspects with respect to the research and the research methodologies, the research serves as a cornerstone for knowledge discovery, innovation, and decision making. So if the company and they are making the decision based on the conducted research about their product and market condition, it is not only in the market field, in every field, in education and in sociology and psychology, everywhere, in order to find out the new facts or solution for the problems and they are conducting the research. And understanding the various types of research methods is crucial for selecting the most appropriate approach to answer the research questions effectively. And this keynote look into the major research method and their applications and tips on choosing the appropriate statistical techniques for the successful completion of your research study. I hope this may be an eye-opener for your research and the foregoing researcher. Thank you for opportunity.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the very informative sessions today, sir.
Okay, ma'am.
Participants, any queries? Any queries? Kindly ask Prathapan, sir. Thank you. Sir, shall we move to the vote of thanks, sir?
Yeah, ma'am.
I would like to invite Ms. Gayatri, faculty, SK Research Group of Companies, will deliver the vote of thanks.
Good evening, everyone. I extend our heartfelt gratitude to our esteemed resource person, Dr.M.Prathapan, sir, Associate Professor, Department of Commerce, Vels Institute of Science, Technology and Advanced Studies, Chennai. Your insightful section and expertise have truly enriched our understanding of essential research methodologies. I thank all the participants for their active involvement, enthusiasm, and curiosity, which made this workshop a success. A special thanks to the organizer and support staff of Leilani Publication and Press for the meticulous planning and execution. Thank you all, and I look forward to more such fruitful engagements in the future. Have a great day. Thank you all.
Thank you, Gayatri.
Thank you,
sir.
ma'am. Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you, sir.
Thank you. I think whether the topics that I covered and coincide with your topic, I hope
Yes,
hope
sir, yes,
whether I fulfilled your topic and their needs.
Yes, sir.
That I highly hope. If there is any uncovered area, and I am requesting, and any inconvenient for you, that you kindly bear with me.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Yes. Thank you, Satish Kumar, sir. If he is, sir is online.
Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot.
Yes, sir. Okay. Thank you for opportunity.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Participants, kindly wait. Tomorrow, our team will send you your certificate through your mail. Thank you, sir. Thank you, participants.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Shall I leave, ma'am?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you so much.